Yes, that's a new intro, and yes, that is a temporary intro for now, but thank you to Sonic for that, as we will work on the new intro in some form or fashion for the Bostonian versus the book. Hi, guys. How are you? Welcome into a Monday episode of BVB Brigade. Thank you for being here. We're live on our YouTube channel at Boston versus the book. We are replayed on Sports Grid Television each and every weeknight, audio podcast, wherever you guys get your audio podcasts, and there is a ton to get into, and a ton to get into today here on the program. A lot of NFL, a lot of college football, and then some golf and baseball and other things wrapped in as well. The show this week's going to be we're going to try to keep it as quote unquote normal as possible. And obviously there's a lot going on in preparations for the memorial services and funeral for Dave, which will take place in a week from today. I know some of you in the chat were asking, we thought we're off today. We're off next Monday. So this Monday we're here, next Monday we're off. And so I'm going to leave the GoFundMe up on the screen. That QR code will go to the GoFundMe. We're at $73,000 raised for the Sherapan family, which is a tremendous number. And I continue to thank each and every one of you who have donated. People continue, keep on scrolling the list of people who have donated, and the names keep on popping off the screen to me. And I'm just so thankful for anybody and everybody who's given any money at all to the Sherapan family for what they're going through at the moment. So, I would love to see that get to 100,000 by the time the week is over, but I understand that that's asking a lot. So I'll take 75, which is just a couple $1,000s more to be raised. So we'll leave the GoFundMe QR code on the screen for the week, and then pull it down once we lay Dave to rest coming up a week from today. So tomorrow on the program, I am efforting to bring on our friend Emerson Lazia. We got to figure out how that's going to work. I do know that we're going to talk baseball tomorrow with Mark Zinno. Wednesday will be Adam Bjorn as we get to Bet Chris Arizona Wednesdays. And then Thursday, Friday, away we go for the week. A lot of response from Friday's show. If you didn't watch Friday with the Bookmaker Roundtable, that was a tremendous conversations, plural, with everybody who came on. If you didn't see it, I would highly recommend going back and watching it. It's on our YouTube channel from Friday. Just go and check it out. And huge thank you to everybody who came on, everybody who watched, with Chris Andrews coming in from the South Point, Alex Kane from Sport Trade. And, we had a real conversation with Jeffrey Benson from Circa, and then learned a lot about, history and friendship and the industry when we talked to a guy, Joe Brennan Jr., who's been around for a really long time, and the guy was heavily involved in the legalization of sports gambling, and how I met, all those people, including Butchie, who joined us, in bonus time, that were from Dave. I would not have met those people and had those people in my life if it wasn't for Dave. So many people that I met in the industry were from Dave. So this week will be tough, but we'll keep it as usual, as quote unquote normal as possible as we roll. And there's just a ton of good things to get to from a football perspective. It's a Monday. Let's talk about my 5 favorite things from the weekend. All right, opening line, my 5 favorite things from the weekend. And boy, what a weekend it was. We begin in the SEC. And boy, the SEC is awesome. It's awesome for so many reasons. Alabama beating Georgia. Oh my gosh. Ole Miss, huge win. What a win for them. Lane Kiffin, and everyone's talking about Lane Kiffin, his daughter, and the linebacker from LSU. We don't need to go there because I find that whole thing to be kind of creepy, to be quite honest. Lane Kiffin's daughter is very attractive, but like 55-year-old guys, guys like my age, 48-year-olds, looking at Lane Kiffin's daughter and talking about what's going on with Wes Weeks from LSU, and whether it was a trap, and did she set Wes Weeks up? Why was Wes Weeks puking in the first series? Was he hungover? All of the things and why was she partying like she was so excited because she said she was cheering for LSU, and then Ole Miss won, and she was cheering for Ole Miss because her dad's team won. And then Lane Kiffin in the post-game press conference was asking, well, where's Wes? I haven't seen him yet. I want to check in on him, see if he had the over. Okay, fine. Everyone's talking about that. I'd rather talk about Arkansas, and that Arkansas has fired Sam Pittman for what was a ridiculous performance against Notre Dame. I don't know what that was, but Sam Pittman was on the hot seat going into that game, and boy, did his team just lay down and let Notre Dame destroy them. But the firing of Sam Pittman is not my favorite thing. Look who's back at head coach. Do you guys remember this? Do you remember this? Do you remember what happened to Bobby Petrino? If you two are too young to remember, Bobby Petrino got into a motorcycle accident, and that what caused his face to be all messed up, and him going to a press conference to announce what was going on. What happened to him? He got messed up, but that wasn't the story. The story was he was having an affair with a staff member while he was the coach of Arkansas, and she was on the back of his motorcycle, the motorcycle that crashed. And they've put him back as the head coach. Bobby Petrino was the offensive coordinator for Arkansas. He is now the interim head coach for Arkansas. How does that happen? How does Arkansas? That is the most SEC of SEC stories. That not only did you bring back Bobby Petrino, but now he's the head coach of Arkansas again after having a very embarrassing and very public affair that was discovered by everyone when he crashed his motorcycle and had one of the most iconic pictures in college coaching ever taken of him, with his face being completely and totally mangled. Arkansas. that is unbelievable. Could you, if he wins, could you imagine if like Arkansas goes on a tear and Bobby Petrino's offense looks incredible and like they give him the job, the Arkansas hires him back full time to be the head coach of Arkansas? Yeah, you know what? It's funny, Brandon Riccone. It's like Bill Clinton back in office. Well, it's Arkansas, right? So it fits, right? That's Arkansas. Unbelievable. Number 5. Bobby Petrino being back as the head coach of Indiana is unbelievable. Number 4, I don't know if this is my favorite or my least favorite, but this is awful. That quarterback for Indiana took a safety at the end of the game against Iowa. The score is 20-13. It's 20-13. The Hoosiers are going to win the game. They have the football, but it's 4th down, and they don't want to give the football back to Iowa. And so he takes the ball from the 35-yard line and he runs directly backwards. He runs into his own end zone and falls down. Now, Indiana is a program right now that has to be paid attention to for a variety of reasons. They're playing really well. They're 5-0, and they go to Iowa and they beat Iowa. But after the game, the quarterback apologized for, quote, cooking parlays for people and cooking their bets. We should not be joking around about this. People were tweeting this, that it's funny, that this is funny, that the quarterback for Indiana decides to make a joke about what's going on in the game he's playing with gambling. Now, I know Lane Kiffin did it, and I highlighted it, and I celebrated it. I said, this is awesome. This is so cool. I think this is such a unique thing. But you can't have a kid saying, we're always looking for the Indiana money line, which is a win. Separation of church and state has to be a thing. It has to be a thing in betting. And it has to be a thing in college sports. We cannot be allowing an Indiana player to go to a post-game press conference and talk about the play having a gambling implication. Church and state has to be separated. And I know that Lane Kiffin has crossed that line. I know we are celebrating Lane Kiffin he tweeted it, bet the over. I get it. I understand what we are doing when a grown man who coaches college football is having this conversation publicly, and we are celebrating it, including me. But a player is a totally different conversation. A player making a joke about it, and then the media laughing alongside at Iowa, a school in which they lost players to the investigation of their football team and their football players as to their involvement in a points shaving, gambling, sports gambling scandal. Iowa State as well. Equally not funny. Equally tone deaf to do it where the kid did it. So I get it. I think people are going to say, Matt, you're too, you're talking out both sides of your mouth. but I know I probably cooked people's spreads. No, that don't normalize that. Don't normalize that. That shouldn't be allowed. That can't be something that we are now going to have over and over again. Players should know point spreads. Players shouldn't know what's going on in games from a gambling perspective. Your job is to go play the game, period. That's it. Put your head down. Stop talking about betting. I know it's everywhere. I know we've allowed it to be just completely drilled into these young people's minds that gambling is part of every friend group, every group chat, everybody. I mean, I guarantee you that kid's friends with a whole litany of players and guys in Indiana that all want to know about the spread and should they bet on Indiana, team total, second half total, all the different ways that we are educating these young people about gambling. This is dangerous, okay? This is not good, and this should not be normalized, that players are going to be talking about this publicly at press conferences, okay? Not good, and something we have to pay attention to. Number 3, where's Waldo? Well, let's do it from a Oregon perspective. Look at this guy. Look at this guy at the Penn State whiteout, just sitting there, white hair, green jersey. How old is this guy, do you think? And he's sporting an Oregon jersey. This completely violates my rule about how old you have to be to wear jerseys. Dave and I used to fight about it all the time. I used to be like, my rule for jerseys is like, that's a dumb rule. Well, yeah, no, it's a dumb rule. It's just one of my rules. You can't wear the jersey of a player who's younger than you. And every single player playing college football is younger than this dude. But this guy went into hostile territory and he didn't care. He's like, I'm going and I'm wearing my green and I'm going to stand up and I'm going to go ahead and support my team because James Franklin is still James Franklin. And it was a mistake by me. I had a crap week betting. Oh, did I have a crap week betting? And Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I got my butt handed to me. But James Franklin is still James Franklin. I should have known better. Should have known better. Now, the game went to overtime. They got the game to overtime. But his quarterback, Drew Aller, who threw one of the worst picks in Penn State history in the playoffs, again, gets picked off to end the game. Drew Aller is not the guy. James Franklin's not the guy to win a national championship. That game's in your building with 105,000. And when it's 3-3 and you have the ball on the plus side of the 50 and your offense is struggling, but your defense is playing really well and you punt the ball back to Oregon, I knew in that exact moment, I went, same James Franklin, same guy. He hasn't changed. A guy who can't win big football games, even in whiteout situations, even when you have everything going your way, you allow Oregon to walk in and dictate. That was Oregon's game. Oregon's defense is tremendous. Oregon's going to be a problem. I mean, in terms of teams, I think Ohio State's really good, but the second best team in the country that I've seen so far is Oregon. And I think the two best teams in the country reside in the Big Ten at the moment. We'll see how the SEC rounds into form. I think Alabama and Ty Simpson, they're going to have a say in all this. That was a hell of a win between the hedges going down and beating Georgia. Why Kirby Smart can't beat Alabama, no matter who the coach is, I have no clue. But he can't. He just can't. James Franklin, Kirk Ferentz, James Franklin, these are just coaches that are allowed to be in their jobs because they win enough to keep their jobs, but they aren't going to win anything of consequence. They're not going to win Big Ten titles. They're not going to win national championships. And James Franklin represents the university really well. Kirk Ferentz represents Iowa really well. They put numerous players into the NFL. They develop talent. They are great coaches. They just aren't going to win the games you want them to win. And that's a hard thing for administrations to handle because you can go and get a big time coach that's going to win and he may embarrass your program. He may win, but then wind up at a press conference looking like that. You don't want that guy. Like you can win, but you don't want that moment. You don't want your head coach looking like that, which can happen. if you go and fire James Franklin or fire Kirk Ferentz. So what do? You just stay pat and you just keep the train going. 9-3, 10-2, all really good. Nothing wrong with that. But that's not what today's college football fan is looking for. They want championships. They want victories. They want big wins. Huge loss. Really, really tough loss. But speaking of huge wins, how about Virginia's student section? Did you guys watch the game on Friday? Now, I worked in Charlottesville. They made improvements to the stadium. I think it's called Scott Stadium. I think when I was there at Scott Stadium, I'm not sure they changed the name of it or not. But they didn't have that berm, that gigantic berm behind one of the end zones, which is the student section. They didn't have that when I was there. They also didn't pack it like that. And then Virginia beats Florida State. And the rushing of the field, and they were fined $50,000 for it, which I don't think the university cares 1 second. The kids were on the field before the clock really even hit triple zeros. Like it was, they knew the pass was going to be incomplete and the game was going to be over. And they just completely rushed the field. It looked a little dangerous for the Florida State player in the end zone, but I guess he was okay. But they went bonkers. And then we saw the pictures come out. Look at this kid. Like, that's college football right there. Let's get on the goalpost and let's just have a good time. Like, just enjoy it. Just have an awesome time. What a win for Virginia. They are now a team to pay attention to for the ACC. They're a team that could very well play for an ACC championship. Big win, big party in Seville. Super excited, super fun to watch that whole situation as that unfolded. Because, man, if you were, looking at college football on a Friday night, it's why I took the over in the game, but it's why I thought UVA would have a really good chance of winning it. Because to me, when you looked at that matchup, Florida State was high. They're thinking that they're going to walk in and beat up on Virginia. And I told you on Friday, UVA hates Florida State. Like, they hate Florida State. They hate Va Tech for different reasons. Virginia Tech is an in-state rival. That's your brother. You want to beat your brother, but that's, a different type of rivalry. They hate Florida State. And FSU showing up, huge win. Huge win for UVA. Yeah, that was the fastest rush of all time. Yeah, that was like a wall of humanity in 2 seconds. It did look a little dangerous. I'll give you that. It did look a little dangerous. How fast it was, like whoosh, right onto the field for UVA. And finally, my favorite thing from the weekend, the big money teams, the Mets and the Astros, are going to be sitting right here next to you and me watching the postseason. The Astros eliminated from the postseason for the first time, from playing in the postseason for the first time since 2016. That was the fourth longest postseason streak in MLB history. The Mets got roasted by their own broadcasting crew for missing the postseason. The Marlins beat the Mets 4-0 to complete the epic collapse of the New York Metropolitans, who had everything going in their way to make the playoffs as we got to August. They were right there. They were going to be there. All the money spent on Juan Soto, all the money spent by Steve Cohen on this team, who today had to come out and apologize to Met fans for the complete embarrassment that they are suffering through today because they missed the playoffs. The Phillies are in, the Yankees are in, but the Mets are not. Congrats to the Reds. I mean, look, they got the Dodgers. It's going to be really hard for the Dodgers, for the Reds to beat the Dodgers, although they do have a pitching matchup that is somewhat favorable. We'll get to that more later in the show. But, man, if you're a fan of small market, the Brewers are the 1 seed in the National League, not the Dodgers. They have a payroll in the bottom third of Major League Baseball, as do the Reds. The Reds are in the postseason. The Brewers are in the postseason. The Astros, gigantic payroll, not in the postseason. But the Mets have the biggest payroll in baseball, and they don't make the playoffs. I mean, if you hate the Mets, this is music. This is absolute music to your ears that the Mets missed the postseason. Incredible to see that collapse. And it all came down to the Marlins shutting out the Mets in a must-win game. And then the Brewers beat the Reds yesterday. All the Mets had to do was win. If they won yesterday, the Mets were in. I mean, 4-0. You get blanked in a game you had to have. Win and you're in. And the Mets could not do that. So as baseball goes, this is really good. This is really good. And yeah, it sounds like Pete Alonso. I haven't seen the official report, but did Pete Alonso officially opt out? It wouldn't surprise me if Pete Alonso officially opts out and wants to get away. You know, I think that's probably a decent point to go ahead and do that. I think that's probably going to happen, to be quite honest. I think there's also, you know, I think if you're a baseball fan, like the Astros had so many injuries all year long. So, like, are you really all that mad that the Astros are out of the playoffs? I don't think so. I think you could have seen it coming if you're a fan of baseball, just because they didn't have Alvarez and they gave up so many home runs. That was the other thing that was really kind of odd about what was happening with the Astros is that their pitching staff. Okay, it has been reported he wants out. Okay, yeah. So, big money Mets. Big money Astros. They're going to be right there with us watching it. Let's talk about the weekend because, boy, was there a lot of good things that happened, both football and baseball-wise. All right, what happened over the weekend? Another weekend in NFL football betting where the public got smacked. This has been a very, very tough start to the year for the public. As our friend Ben Fox from Yahoo reported from the BetMGM numbers, the Vikings, the Chargers, and the Packers were the three most bet via ticket games yesterday in the NFL. Vikings lose in Ireland to the Steelers. The Chargers lose outright on the road, giving the Giants in Jackson Dart their first victory. The Packers tie. More on that in 1 second. They don't cover. The Lions did, but the Ravens lost to the Chiefs. 1-4 in terms of the most tickets bet in the NFL. Home teams in the NFL continue to dominate. If you are laying points on the road in the NFL right now, stop. You need to stop. It is right now. We had talked about the death of the home team in the NFL about like 5 years ago, where good teams were just rolling in, the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Cowboys, and like teams are just going on the road and winning consistently. Winning on the road in the NFL right now is really, really hard. It happened 3 times last week and 3 times this week so far. 2 games left, obviously, coming up tonight for Monday Night Football. But forget laying points. Just money line is dangerous for a team on the road right now in the NFL. And it doesn't matter East Coast, West Coast. It doesn't really matter. The Raiders should have won yesterday. More on that in a second. But the Raiders should have won their game. And that would have been only 2 road teams that would have won. I mean, the Patriots and what they did to the Panthers, like it's just right now, winning on the road in the NFL is extremely, extremely difficult. We have to find a better way to determine NFL football games. We can't have ties. Okay, we can't have ties. Cowboys 40, Packers 40 last night. We all waited up late. Now, for you guys on the East Coast, that was brutal. Us on the West Coast, it was 9 p.m. It wasn't that big of a deal. But for you guys on the East Coast, whoa. That's a really late game. So in college football, we all decided that ties did not work because, well, I'm old enough to remember when college football ties were very much a thing. And so everybody was like, come on, you can't have ties in America. We don't want to do ties in America because hockey does ties and hockey is a Canadian thing, right? So we don't want ties. So we came up with a system in college football, which, by the way, we have tweaked 8,000 times. We've done it with sudden death. We've done it with full game. We've done it now with the 25-yard line. We've done it where it went on for 8, 9, 10 overtimes. Now we added automatic 2-point plays, and then we trimmed it down to, well, after we go through 2 overtimes, for the third overtime, we're just going to decide the game via 2-point play. And that's how we're going to decide it. I'm not advocating that the NFL goes full college football, but even hockey figured it out. Even the Canadian sport figured it out, that people don't like ties. And so in 2025, as we sit here with the level of gambling that we have with the NFL and the number of people who watch the NFL and the fact that the only live event that people will really plan their day around is the NFL, and we have a tie between the Packers and the Cowboys, there has to be some method. Once we play 10 minutes, and I'm good with playing a 10-minute overtime period, and I'm good with both teams having a possession. I think that's important for both teams to touch the football. I get it. One team goes down, scores a touchdown. That pissed people off, that was unfair. Both teams have to have a chance to have possession. So I'm good with that. And then, but once both teams have possession, it turns into essentially sudden death, right? If we're tied after that, field goal, whoever scores next. So the Cowboys score. And then the Packers get the ball, and they take, their sweet old time, and they trying to score a touchdown, but kind of not, right? I mean, Matt LaFleur looked like he was playing for a field goal. It looked like he was being somewhat conservative and not going full on like adapt. Here's what I am proposing and what I think we should do. I think after 10 minutes, I think we should go to the college rules, and I think we should look at giving each team a possession in the red zone after 10 minutes. So it's another coin flip. After 10 minutes, we have another coin flip, and then we go and play like college, but we don't allow that first overtime to happen. We go right to the requirement for a 2-point play. Okay. So we go 10 minutes. If we're still tied of 10 minutes, we then go to the college ranks and we go to the 25-yard line, put the football down. And if you score a touchdown, you have to go for 2. If we're still tied after that, I'm open for any type of idea or conversation, or just keep going with the idea of playing at the 25-yard line, keep going. I don't like the idea of doing a field goal contest. I don't like the idea of going to just 2-point plays. But I'm open for anything after we get to that second overtime period. What happens if we get to a third overtime? Then I might be willing to talk about a tie. But 10 minutes is really fast. It's fast, in particular, if we're running the football. 10 minutes is a blink. And I know what we're talking about here. It's player safety, right? We're talking about how many times do we want these guys getting their bell rung, getting their head kicked in, the banging of an NFL football game, how difficult it is on the body. I understand all of that. But we can't do this. We cannot have a game with the consequence. We're playing 17 football games, okay? 17 games. I know that seems like a lot. But hockey plays 82. The NBA plays 82. Major League Baseball figured this out, right? I don't like the ghost runner, but Major League Baseball was like, let's find a way to end the game. Let's get it over with. Let's make sure we have a winner, but let's get it over with. Get to extra innings. We're going to manufacture some fake situations. They're really concerned about the kickoff, right? So since they're so concerned about the kickoff, well, we're going to take the kickoff and we're going to eliminate the kickoff if you go to this extra double overtime rule and put the ball at the 25-yard line. And then you're going to have red zone defenses, which it's hard to score in the red zone. So we could have field goals and then touchdowns being scored, and then that team wins. The coin flip does matter. It adds some extra drama into the coin flip as to who gets the ball first in the second overtime. I like that idea. And then it's up to the defenses. And you do have a kicker still involved. So there is some special teams involved as well, because you have to go for, if you don't score a touchdown, you're kicking a field goal. It's a chip shot, but you're kicking a field goal. And then the other team gets the football and they get to go and see if they can score. If there's a turnover, the game's over. Interception, fumble, the game's over. But we need to have a winner. We need to have a winner. Okay. We cannot have a tie in the NFL. It has to go away. There is no need for it. There's no reason for it. And if you look at sports, it's soccer and American football. Those are the only two sports left that have ties. Like, think about that. Soccer, a sport that is niche and only a certain percentage of the American population actually pays attention to. And American football, which is the biggest behemoth in this country, and we're allowing games to end in ties. We're allowing everybody to spend 3.5, 4 hours in front of their TV sets watching this game. And then if they have the Packers in a survivor pool or a Packer pick in the Circa Survivor, they're out. Not every survivor team, not every survivor contest is like that. But most of them, and all the big ones, all the big money ones, you're out. The Packers are out and the Cowboys are out. So if you ended up taking, they didn't lose, but they didn't win. And if you don't win, your team didn't survive. And so you're out. It just doesn't make any sense to me. We have to figure this out. We have to figure this out in the next couple of years in the NFL, because we spend so much time obsessing over the tush push and whether or not that play is legal and whether or not that should be allowed. And then you saw the fake tush push by the Eagles this weekend against Tampa, and all the comments after the game from the Eagles. They need to get over it and get past it, because I'm sick of hearing them whine. You know, Jordan Mailata needs to just find a new topic. Go talk about something else, dude. But this is the topic we should be discussing. This is the angle we should be having a conversation about, because now all the tiebreakers get wonky and weird, because it's not a loss, but it's not a win either. And so the tiebreaking scenarios about playoff bids and about divisions and division titles, we're now into the third and the fourth and the fifth level of tiebreakers when it comes to scheduling at the end of the year, which is not great. Not in love with that at all. You want to talk about the end of the first half? Yeah, you can talk about the end of the first half. Sure, if you want to. Touchdown, hell of a drive. Cowboys. I mean, if you had the Cowboys there or the Packers in the first half, that stunk. If you had the under in the first half, that stunk. But I just think we have to figure out a way to end these games in regulation, or with a team with a win. If we don't have a winner at the end of regulation, we can't be entering this overtime period and everybody is just holding out and praying this happens. So look, if you're a Cowboy fan, the takeaway from last night is that Dak Prescott, and I agree with Eric. Okay. I agree. Dak Prescott, it's why I picked the Cowboys and bet the Cowboys to win the division. The Eagles are rolling. Okay. But you saw a little bit of a dinged up situation involving Saquon Barkley. We'll see what he looks like today and see what he looks like going forward. He is not 100%. And the Eagles were lucky to beat the Rams. That was a hell of a play, and that could very well win the division for them at the end of the day, because I think the Cowboys and the Eagles are going to be right there. The Cowboys at home, and look, what happened against the Bears was pretty obvious. In the second half, without CeeDee Lamb, their game plan was to go through CeeDee Lamb, and unfortunately, they couldn't make adjustments, and so they lost the game to the Bears. But without him, and they game planned for him being out, and they schemed up George Pickens, and they had Dak Prescott throwing to Pickens consistently. Pickens had a huge game, an absolutely monster game, and I think he'll continue to be a monster, in particular at home. The Cowboys' defense is awful. They're going to give up 30 points a game, but the Cowboys' offense can score 30 points a game on basically anybody. So that's the brand of football the Cowboys are going to play. And if Dak keeps going, and if Dak gets this team into the postseason, I think with Lamar Jackson's injury to his hamstring and the 1-3 start, I think Lamar in the MVP conversation up to this point is over. Okay. You're not giving it to Patrick Mahomes. His numbers suck. So he's out of the conversation right now for the MVP. It's Dak. I mean, through 4 weeks, who is your MVP? Oh, it's Dak Prescott. 100%. It's Dak Prescott. So, it's early, right? I mean, it's really early, but through 4 weeks, Dak is playing at an incredibly high level, and Brian Schottenheimer is doing a really good job with that offense. And they'll get CeeDee back in a couple of weeks. But the biggest thing for the Cowboys is their running game. They can run the football. It's really impressive to see them run the football. So, obviously Josh Allen's in the conversation. Of course, Josh Allen's in the conversation, but he plays in Buffalo. Like he just plays in Buffalo. Like he's in the conversation, but I think Dak Prescott's defense is why you would say Dak right now is the MVP. Josh is in the conversation. 100% Josh is in the conversation, but coming into the year, the Bills, they had a tough time with the Saints yesterday. We'll get to that in a second. Daniel Jones lost yesterday, so Daniel Jones is out of that one. Yeah, they got tested yesterday. Bills got tested by the Saints. They won the game, but they didn't cover, which again, from here on out, laying points on the road in the NFL is a really bad idea, but laying 2 touchdowns or more in any game in the NFL is a bad idea. It's just a bad idea. Like the books were trying to set a number high enough to get people to take the Saints, and 14.5 was the number, and people were taking the Saints, and they covered. They almost won the game. Like they had a shot. Saints had a shot to win that game and beat the Bills. Now you could say the Bills weren't taking them seriously, or the Bills were overlooking them, looking ahead to the Patriots coming up next week on Sunday Night Football, whatever excuse you wanted to come up with, but the Bills almost lost that game. So that's dangerous. If you're talking about MVP Josh Allen, that's a bit dangerous. You can't lose to a team that's going to be the worst team in football, or even be tested by a team that's going to be the worst team in football. So interesting. Goff has a better shot than Dak. Maybe. And that's a big maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. Jared Goff is a hard guy to like. I know he's a likable dude off the field, but what I mean on the field, he's a difficult guy to like. He just puts the ball in harm's way so often, and Dak can do as well. But I don't know. That loss in week 1 to the Packers is going to be difficult. He didn't look good at all in that game. Dak's got better numbers up to this point. Long season, obviously, right? But up to this point, I would not put Jared Goff ahead of Dak Prescott. I wouldn't do it. Matthew Stafford, I'm not. So this is a good question. Matthew Stafford or Puka Nacua? Who is more responsible for what's going on with the Rams offense? Because you can make a pretty good case that Puka Nacua's start to the year is unbelievable. He leads the NFL in receiving. He's the best weapon in the game at the moment. He's unguardable. He hurt his thumb in the game, went into the locker room. Their offense didn't do anything. He came back, and then the Rams moved the football and got the ultimately game-winning touchdown against the Colts. So, yeah, he's boring. Goff is boring, but who cares? Boring wins. Boring wins. So, okay, I'll give you Jonathan Taylor early, but again, that loss yesterday was tough on the road to the Rams. I don't think people buy, including me. I faded them yesterday. I got one bet right yesterday, basically. It was the Rams. And I should have lost, because if that wide receiver doesn't look to celebrate, the Rams probably lose that game, and the Colts probably win. But I'm not buying the Colts, and I know a lot of folks aren't buying the Colts, and they think this is just a nice start, flash in the pan. Nobody expected them to be anything of consequence, and then they go and do big things. I was so mad at the Lions in the Browns game yesterday. I got hooked on that. So I took the over 44.5. It was bet down to 44, but I took it overnight, and it closed at 44. Game fell 34-10. If you're a Browns fan, I think you have to start to ask the questions about, why are you playing an aging quarterback who can't move? Your offensive line's not good. They just traded for an offensive lineman yesterday, but you have to think about Shedeur Sanders, do you not? And or Dylan Gabriel. When are you going to play one of those two guys? I know Gabriel was a bit nicked up. I don't know if he's been cleared to play or not, but you have to really start to think about, if you're a Browns fan, is playing the kids. You need to play the kids. Daniel, what I mean by the Lions being boring, or people are saying, is because you guys have flashy players. Your offense isn't boring. Jared Goff's boring. Jared Goff checks down all the time. He throws screen passes and hands the football off to 2 outstanding running backs behind the best offensive line in the NFL. We're talking about the MVP, not the Lions offense. Two different conversations. Lions offense yesterday was really good. Lions offense has been, other than the first week debacle against the Packers, the Lions offense has been very good. It's not the conversation we're having. It's about the MVP for Jared Goff. So that's what I mean by that. Jared Goff is boring. But, I mean, boring is winning. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Sanders would be worse, but would Gabriel be worse? But I don't think it's worth, if you're a Browns fan, I don't think it's worth playing Joe Flacco anymore. Like, why are you playing Joe Flacco? It doesn't make any sense. You're not going anywhere. Your team's not going anywhere. Jerry Jeudy dropping passes yesterday in that game. What was that for Jerry Jeudy? I mean, like, my gosh. Remember when he was like one of the elite receivers in the game? Yee. Not good. Not good at all yesterday. So I would bench Flacco. I don't see the point in playing Joe Flacco anymore. They can't move the football on anybody. Like, on anybody. I don't think there's a point at all to do and play Joe Flacco. So, good win for the Lions. Another loss for the Browns as things continue to kind of spiral for them. And, Saints or Browns, who gets the number 1 pick in the draft? It might hinge on this weekend, to be quite honest. If the Saints beat the Giants, we'll see. How many games are the Saints going to win this year? 1, 2. They fought yesterday. I'll give them credit for that. They fought, but ultimately came up short. The Patriots destroyed Bryce Young and the Panthers. Bryce Young continues to be on the road, just an automatic fade. The other bet I got right yesterday was Patriots -5.5. Patriots look great. Offense looked great. Drake May looked great. It's the Panthers. I'm not jumping up and down about this, but getting a win, your second straight win, road win against the Dolphins, home win against the Panthers. Like this is how you build up the confidence of a young quarterback and a young team. 2 kick returns. If I was going to have my 6th favorite thing for today was the fact the Patriots had a team record in punt returns, including a punt return for a touchdown. So far, special teams for New England, whether it be the kick return for a touchdown against the Dolphins or the punt return for a touchdown and almost 2 punt returns for touchdowns, the Patriots special teams has been the best unit so far on the field for New England. And it's been the main driver of 2 wins so far this year for New England. So when coaches talk about all 3 phases, well, it's big when your punt return and kick return is giving you points against, the Dolphins are better than the Panthers, but that was a huge deal because a punt return for a touchdown happened for Miami, and then Gibson returned it, the ensuing kickoff, for a touchdown. And then the Patriots were kind of struggling a bit against the Panthers, and then punt return for a touchdown kind of set the building on fire. And away the Patriots went to scoring over 40 points against Carolina. I mean, Drake May hit him with the Cam Newton, for goodness sakes. He did the Superman celebration, and Cam saw it and was honored that he did that. So, impressive performance by the Patriots. Bad performance by Bryce Young and company. They continue to be just an absolute disaster on the road with Bryce Young at the quarterback position. He's now 1-15 straight up on the road. 1-15 in the NFL. The Chiefs went back to looking like the Chiefs. If you're a Ravens fan, you lost Lamar Jackson to a hamstring injury, which we don't know the severity of it yet, but they're saying, hold on, don't worry. But 1-3 for a team that everybody thought would be the best team on paper going into the year and the odds-on favorite to get to the Super Bowl this year. And they're 1-3. The Steelers look like the best team in the division. That's not a crazy comment. The DK Metcalf's 80-yard touchdown scamper yesterday was wild. That was, you want to tackle that guy at top speed? No, thanks. That looked like a video game with him running through the Vikings secondary over in Ireland. And that ultimately turned out to be the game winner because it was a 24-21 final because the Vikings charged. Carson Wentz played great in the second half, not great in the first half, but played well enough. But right now, the Steelers look like the best team in the division. Long way to go, but they look like the best team in the division. Now, where will the Ravens end up? We'll see. But the Bengals stink, the Browns stink, and the Ravens currently stink at 1-3. So by facto, by elimination, Steelers are the best team in the division. They're the best team in the division. So We'll see. But Chiefs look like the Chiefs again. Mahomes looked like Mahomes. Offense looked like the offense. I mean, that was a really good performance. Defense played really well. I mean, 7-0, and then it was just all KC after that. Ravens have a lot of questions. They got a lot of questions going forward. All right, we have the postseason. Major League Baseball. It's out. The bracket. We're here. We have arrived. The Reds travel to Los Angeles to take on the Dodgers. The Padres travel to Chicago, take on the Cubs. Red Sox on the road to the Yankees, and the Tigers, amazingly enough, make the playoffs, but they now have to play at the Guardians. How in the hell did the Guardians do it? They won the division, and they're rewarded by playing the team that they just ran down, which is really interesting. And they're dogs. Tigers are favored to win this series. They are minus 115. They're not big favorites to win this series, but they are favored to win this series. The Tigers will throw Tarek Skubal in game 1. We don't know yet the other side for the Guardians, but their pitching has been so good. Game 1 tomorrow. Oh my gosh. It's the first game of the day. What a game. What a matchup. What a day of baseball we have tomorrow. We'll break it all down tomorrow with 4 games. Amazing pitching matchups. Amazing pitchers going across baseball. Like if you were a baseball fan, tomorrow is so darn good. It is so good tomorrow, but got to win game 1. Game 1 is such a big game to win in the postseason. A 3-game series in basketball and baseball and hockey, whatever. Game 1. So big. Got to win game 1. That's why I think the Guardians are taking their time as to who they're going to announce, as to who is going to win this. But Tigers, Guardians, basically a coin flip. Red Sox at the Yankees, the other side in the American League. The Yankees are minus 180. Okay. So I've been saying this all summer. The Red Sox hammer lefties, and they're getting one in game 1. The Red Sox are throwing their best lefty, and they're getting Garrett Crochet. If Crochet does what Crochet is supposed to do, the Red Sox will win game 1. If the Red Sox win game 1, you have to like their chances to win the division, to win the series. Now, who pitches game 2 and game 3? Fine. But the Red Sox are 9-4 this year against the Yankees. They're 9-4. The Red Sox swept the Yankees at Yankee Stadium earlier this year. And they need to win 2 games out of 3. Now, they won't get to play at Fenway. But man, this is a really interesting series because the price being what it is, I thought it would be more like this. I thought it would be more like a pick'em between the Red Sox and the Yankees. Yankees being minus 180. Yankee tax. That's all that is. That's a Yankee tax. That doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't make any sense to me. Given the Red Sox history, given the Red Sox, Yankees aren't hitting home runs. They don't score. The Yankees aren't going to score against the Red Sox unless the Red Sox bullpen gives up home runs. Garrett Crochet at the end of the year was giving up way more home runs than anyone would have liked. He gave up in the month of September, Garrett Crochet gave up 8 home runs pitching. That's not good. He gave up 4 in the entire month of August. He gave up 2 in the entire month of July, to give you an idea as to how dominant Crochet was, but how many home runs he was giving up. That's the danger for tomorrow for the Red Sox with Garrett Crochet. It's the home runs. Okay? The home runs are the concern. Does he wind up giving up a home run? I don't know. Sorry for the freeze. The National League. Padres at the Cubs. Cubs are minus 125. Nick Pivetta is going for the Padres. We don't know yet about the Cubs. I'm guessing it's going to be Imanaga, but I'm not positive it's going to be Imanaga for the Cubs to go, but the Cubs are favored at minus 125. This is going to be, I don't know who wins this series, to be honest. I don't know. I think the Tigers are in trouble. I do. I think the Guardians are ecstatic that they get the Tigers, given how poorly the Tigers played down the stretch. And you could say, well, postseason baseball and regular season baseball are two very different things. I just think going on the road for the Tigers, going to Cleveland, that's asking a lot. That building is going to be incredible. Red Sox don't care about playing at Yankee Stadium. They're used to it. They're used to facing the Yankees in hostile environments. This one, I don't know. I mean, if I had to take it, I'd take the Padres, but I don't know. I mean, the Cubs, their bullpen is somewhat of a question for me. This could be a very high-scoring 3-game series. I think it does go 3. And I think it's a bit of a zigzag. Whoever wins game 1 will lose game 2. And then it comes down to a game 3. But this is going to be a lot of fun to watch this. I have a plus 650 ticket on the Cubs to win the National League. The winner of this series plays the Brewers. I have a 27-1 ticket on the Brewers to win the World Series. So I am invested here in this series. I'm going to be watching this series. In fact, I took the Padres to win the National League at plus 750 last night, because I've got a guarantee into the National League Championship Series. So it is a little bit like betting against myself, but it's a little bit of a protection insurance in case the Cubs or Padres beat the Brewers, which I don't think is going to happen, but it's baseball. So you got to be a little careful with that. And then finally, Reds and the Dodgers, minus 250. No pitchers announced as of yet, but can Cincinnati keep this rolling? I don't think it's crazy. Why? Well, that's the subject of Ohtani Watch. Ohtani is not going to pitch in game 1 or game 2 of this series. That's interesting. We're not throwing Ohtani? Why not? You're going to hold him for a game 3? Is that what you're going to hold him off to? Because I think the Dodgers are starting to figure out that Ohtani as a hitter right now is more valuable than Ohtani as the pitcher that he has been, because you need the offense. Right now, it's Blake Snell in game 1, Yamamoto in game 2, and then Ohtani would pitch game 3 if needed. Ohtani hit his 55th home run of the year on Sunday. The previous franchise record was set by Ohtani, who hit 54 last year. 55 home runs for Ohtani. So let's get this over in game 1, get this over in game 2, and don't use Ohtani in the wild card series. And maybe he starts game 1 of the divisional series. Or maybe you hold him to pitch in the National League Championship Series. I mean, look they got a best of 5 against the Phillies waiting for them. If they beat the Reds, they're going to have their hands full with the odds-on favorite to win the World Series. So I can kind of understand what they're doing. I can kind of get the decision or the move here. You look at the odds as we head into the postseason. The Phillies at FanDuel are plus 450. The Mariners are tied with the Dodgers. This, boys and girls, is history in 2025. We have never seen the Dodgers on this far down at plus 550 heading into the postseason. This is the best number this year on the Dodgers to win the World Series. I'm talking about spring training all the way to now. We have not seen the Dodgers at plus 550 to win the World Series. Blue Jays and the Yankees are right there. Brewers at 7-1. That's why I like my 27-1. Cubs, Padres, Red Sox at 18-1. Tigers and the Guardians. The books are basically thinking that series doesn't matter. 20-1 and 22-1, and the Reds at 35-1. Those are your teams left in the bracket for the postseason. Phillies taking over the Dodgers. That was one thing. The Mariners being plus 550. How much public money is coming in on Seattle? How much public money is coming in on the big dumper? I don't know if you watched baseball much this year, but for people to go to the window and be like, I'm betting the Mariners to win the World Series, people would go, come on, man. They're behind the Astros. They're not even going to win the division. Well, they won the division. And they have one of the two byes in the American League. And you look at their path. I think it comes down to the path for the Mariners. They get the winner of the Guardians and the Tigers, which I think is going to be the Guardians. So then you get a 5-game series against Cleveland. That's like a 1-0 game for 5 straight games. That's going to be no offense, all defense and pitching for the Guardians and the Mariners. But if they get past the Guardians, they have home field. Reminder that last year, the byes did not go well for those teams who got them. But then they'll play either the Blue Jays, Red Sox, or Yankees. And what the books are saying is that the Mariners match up really well with either the Red Sox, Yankees, or Blue Jays. And I would agree with that. I think the Mariners do match up really well with whoever comes out of the bottom of that bracket in the American League. And on the flip side, Seattle comes out. Who do they see? Well, against the Brewers, I think they would match up fairly well. That's another low-scoring series. And then the Phillies would be the one matchup that I would not like for Seattle, just given the way the Phillies hit good pitching. So that's why the Phillies are favored ahead of the Seattle Mariners. But that's, I mean, an exacta of Mariners and the Phillies, you can see it. You can understand why the books are set up the way they're set up. Yeah, and it's possible you could see Mariners, Yankees, ALCS, Brian. Absolutely. Yeah, that can happen. Yankees are at home. I think the Blue Jays are the team that nobody gives any credit to at the moment. If I'm a Blue Jay fan, I feel a bit disrespected. And yes, they won the division on the last day of the regular season, but they won the division. Okay. They won the AL East. And so I think hanging on to the AL East when everybody thought that the Blue Jays would fall on their face in September and that the Yankees would catch them. I mean, the books did pretty well. There were people taking all sorts of positions on the Yankees come the All-Star break and August 1st on the Yankees to run down the Blue Jays, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Yeah, Chris, I mean, nobody's giving Toronto any credit. Should they? Yeah, they should. They've got arms. And at home, they mash. I mean, they mash at home. So on the road, they're not nearly as good of a team, but they're going to have home field in the American League Divisional Series. We'll see who comes out of that top of the bracket, but they could have home field in the American League Championship Series. And that's how the Blue Jays get to the World Series. So I think there is some value in taking Toronto simply because nobody is giving them any credit. I mean, you can get 650 to win the World Series, probably half that to win the American League, but they're the second option behind the Mariners in the American League. They're just a little bit ahead of the Yankees, right? I equally think that there's value on the Red Sox. I know people, Matt, you're a homer. Yes, I am, but 18-1 on the Red Sox, where Alex Cora has proven it. Alex Cora has proven what he's capable of doing, and they have Garrett Crochet and Lucas Giolito. If Giolito keeps pitching the way he's pitching, the offense is the question, right? But I remind everybody that in 2018, that was the question for the Red Sox the entire time. Like all season long for the Red Sox, it was, you have guys like Shane Victorino, and you've got all these players that who used to be good, who aren't good now. Red Sox are really young. No one's going to think that they can get past the Yankees. But again, with Crochet going in game 1 and Max Fried going in game 2, I'm going to be very surprised if Boston doesn't win game 1. They win game 1. Now game 2 comes in. You have Lucas Giolito, and fine, the Yankees probably win game 2. And then it's coming down to a game 3 situation where it's probably Brian Bayo going for the Boston Red Sox and maybe Will Warren, who goes for the Yankees in game 3. So I think it's a 3-game series, but the more lefties that the Yankees put against the Red Sox and the more bullpen arms the Yankees are forced to throw against Boston, this is why Boston's 9-4 against them, because they have feasted on the bullpen for the Yankees. And the Yankees starting pitching is not that good. Red Sox bullpen is at times suspect, but their starting pitching is much better than the Yankees. So again, if you don't give up the home run, the Yankees generally don't manufacture offense. The Red Sox equally have had a tough time. They don't have a lineup anywhere close to the Yankees. The Yankees lineup is full of power hitters, but 18-1, It's not bad. K-Bro, not a bad ticket. 20-1. I mean, he has 20-1. I'm not sure when you bet that, but I'm guessing you bet that a little while ago. 18-1 right now. It's pretty good. Pretty good. 18-1 to grab on the Red Sox right now to win the World Series. So if you guys are watching on the replay at Sports Grid, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. If you guys are listening to the audio podcast or you're with us live here on Twitter, X, or YouTube, don't move. More baseball conversations, and we'll get to the Ryder Cup in bonus time. It's the only time I can drink is when we go to bonus time. Yeah. So just saying, there are some exacta options. There are some real good numbers out there. Padres at 16-1. I wouldn't sleep on that either. I wouldn't sleep on that. Okay. Again, it's about the draw, right? So the Padres play the Cubs on the road. Can the Padres beat the Cubs? Sure. They can beat the Cubs. Then they would go to a 2-2-1 series against the Brewers and have 2 games at home. Can they steal one in Milwaukee and win the 2 in San Diego? Sure. And then they'd have to go and take on the Phillies or the Dodgers. But here's the one thing that we didn't talk about the Dodgers and the Reds. The Reds actually match up fairly well against the Dodgers. And the reason why I say that is because their starting pitching is, people are kind of sleeping a little bit on the starting pitching here for the Reds. Hunter Green's been tremendous. He'll start game 1. So he's 7-4 with a 2.76 ERA on the year. On the road, though, a little bit different than at home. You'd rather play at home, obviously. I'm sorry, you'd rather have them play at home against the Dodgers. But, a 4.81 ERA on the road is not horrible. But maybe Hunter Green can dial it back and be really well. Andrew Abbott has been good this year, 10-7 with a 2.87 ERA for them. On the road, a 3.43 ERA. And then they'll throw Nick Lodolo. And we'll see what Nick Lodolo looks like in game 2 or game 3. And Nick Lodolo on the road this year has a 2.81 ERA. I might throw him in game 2 versus Abbott throwing in game 2. But I mean, the Reds aren't horrible. They're not horrible. And I'm going to be very, very, very curious to see. Eric, on any other day but today, Jason Tatum's workout video would have been my number one thing, my favorite thing from the weekend. But it's a football Monday, and I thought it would have been ridiculous to talk basketball after football for college in the NFL. So, but my number, if this happened in, I don't know, if we were in the month of January and we saw that video come out, I can't get over it. I've watched it 100 times. Kevin Durant retweeted it. I mean, if you haven't seen the Jason Tatum workout video, it's insane. Like absolutely fundamentally insane. Like insane what they have done with that surgery. Modern medicine's incredible. How is Jason Tatum not playing basketball in the NBA in 2026? How is that possible? It's September. The guy is running and jumping in September. You're telling me that in February, this guy's not playing NBA basketball? Why not? What's the worry? What's the fear? Because other guys haven't done it before? Okay. But October, November, December, January is 4 more months to strengthen the Achilles, to get him in his shape. What are we doing? The playoffs are in May. Like, okay, so you have him go in March and in April. So now we're 6 months from now. You're telling me in 6 months, after watching the video with Jason Tatum, what he just did, you're telling me that we're not playing basketball this year? Huh? Oh my. Wild. And I know losing, I'm bummed out that the Warriors, not that he was the heart and soul of the team, but I think there's definitely going to be a lack of leadership in that locker room for the Celtics, because you can't just lose Al Horford and replace him. Al Horford for 7 years. I mean, the Sixers aren't really a contender at the moment against Boston, given the dumpster fire there. But like the reason why Boston never worried about Philadelphia was because of Al Horford. They went and signed him trying to beat Boston. That didn't work. Boston brought him back and Philly couldn't beat Boston. So like Al Horford being gone for that situation stinks. Against the Knicks, I mean, that's going to be the main competition for Boston this year. It's going to be the Knicks. But if you put Jason Tatum back on the floor, they won't have a problem. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum will take care of New York like they have in years past. So, I mean, that workout video was amazing. I mean, absolutely, completely amazing, that workout video. So it would have been my number one thing, but it's, like I said, it's a football Monday. So, boy, the Ryder Cup. What was that? Team USA 15-13. First time a road team has won the cup since 2012. We didn't show ourselves to be classy people, guys. What was that? Look, I know Rory had it coming. I know he was egging people on. I know he was a jackass. But we were pricks. I mean, the American crowd, we were obnoxious. It was unnecessary. It was embarrassing in a lot of ways watching that. And granted, the Team USA performance on Sunday was almost historic. I mean, the come from behind win, the Victor Hovland situation. I don't care enough about it to get angry about giving a half a point to both. When if you forfeit a match, if Team USA had won that match versus forfeiting that match, what might have happened? There would have been a different situation. And so because of that, I think there's people out there that are like, well, hold on a second. Like it could have been 14-14. It could have been different. We could have halved it. So Team USA could have kept, or I guess Team Europe would have kept the cup versus losing it. It was embarrassing. Yeah. I agree, Covey. It was embarrassing. I mean, it was unnecessary. You want it to be up. You want the crowd to be loud. You want it to be exciting. You want it to be emotional. You don't want it to cross the line like that, you know? And look at Rory was a prick. Okay. There's no other way around it. He was a donkey. Yes. He would, whatever you want to call Rory McIlroy. I mean, he lives in America, right? The post-game press conference, when he was asked about, like, you know, he said something to a fan about, I am really fucking good. And he said it again in the post-game press conference, you know, I'm not here for that version of Rory because he's a leprechaun. He's this little dude that like, stop it. Like, come on, man. Like, just stop. Like, no one's afraid of you. You're not a tough guy. Stop trying to act like it. Your kids are American. You said that. Okay. Your wife's American. Your kids are American. You live here. Don't be a prick. Like, just, you know, the American fans were crossing the line 100%. They were inappropriate 100%. But you getting in front of a microphone, premeditated, sitting down and saying all of these things, it was a bad look. Yes, it was an embarrassing look for the Americans, but let that be the story. Let the American crowd be the story. Instead, you contributed to that and you put yourself on the same side as the American fans that were being donkeys. You were a jackass. Like you were a complete joke. And so, yeah, the performance on Friday was why Team Europe won. I mean, Scotty Scheffler was a disaster. He beat Rory on Sunday, by the way, but he was a disaster. Can't happen. Just can't. I mean, Oberg was amazing. Fitzpatrick played really well. Like, guys you didn't expect to play really well for the Euros did. The pairings for Team USA weren't good. And I mean, and the guy who's taking the heat for this is Keegan Bradley. And he owned up to it afterwards. Said, they blame me. No one should be blamed for this but me. And I think most American fans would say yes, because his pairings didn't make a lot of sense to most diehard golf people and golf journalists. They were left scratching their heads going like, what is going on? Why are you why this pairing doesn't make any sense? This matchup doesn't make any sense. What are you doing, Keegan Bradley? But I felt everybody left that event, watching that event, being a part of that event. Nobody was like ecstatic or excited about that. Everybody was like, man, left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. No one was excited about the end of the Ryder Cup. Like, yeah, you won it. Congratulations. Who cares? Who cares? Like, it didn't, it didn't make people jump up and down the same way you would want a Ryder Cup to do that. Because I felt like not only was Team USA playing poorly, but it was just the overall environment. Everything about the environment around the Ryder Cup was kind of crappy. This is just one of those stories that I don't care a whole lot about, but Bad Bunny being announced as the halftime show has caused a lot of people to have very strong opinions. No Taylor Swift. She declined it again. Everybody thought she was going to perform at the halftime. I understand a little bit, and not that anyone gives really two shits about this all that much, but Bad Bunny was like a top 3 most listened to artist on Spotify last year. I don't listen to Bad Bunny. I'm not part of the demographic. Okay. I'm 48 years old. The average age of an NFL football fan is 55. That is not the demographic listening to Bad Bunny. The halftime show is not for you or me, not the guy who watches every snap. I watched every snap of every game yesterday. I started watching football at 6 a.m. and I stopped watching football at 9 p.m. yesterday. Okay. I had 2 TVs, 2 laptops, and my phone all going yesterday, watching every single game. Okay. They have me. They don't need me to tune into the Super Bowl. I'm going to be watching every single snap of the Super Bowl. So they're trying to bring in new eyeballs, and people that like Bad Bunny will tune in. I've seen it on social media. People are really excited. If you like Puerto Rican culture and you like people who are trying to appeal to other different demographics, that's why you go get a guy like Bad Bunny. Okay? He's massive. He has a huge fan base. Do I listen to his music? No. Do I recognize him on screen? Sure. Do I know he's an actor? Yes. Do I know he's done a lot of things in his career? Yes. Do I care he's doing the halftime show? No. And I'm a music guy. You ask me to name one song by Bad Bunny, I cannot. I can't. But I understand why they're doing it, and I'm not angry about it. I think the disappointment is that a lot of us who have daughters who know that what Taylor Swift at the halftime show would do, our daughters would come and watch, because my daughter was asking me, did Taylor take the halftime show? Because we were watching it because we assumed that she was going to take the halftime show. The reason why she didn't take the halftime show is the same reason why she hasn't done it yet before. She wants total control of everything around the halftime show. And the NFL is not going to allow a 35-year-old pop star to tell them what to do. They never have, and they never will. They don't pay for the halftime show. We learned that during COVID when they're trying to figure out who was going to do it. And the Weeknd stepped up to do the halftime show during COVID because it was a huge stage, but no one was getting paid. And we found out that the NFL doesn't pay for the halftime show. They say the platform is payment enough, which is hard to argue. It's the biggest platform in live TV every year. So it's a pretty damn big deal. So she wanted all control, meaning she wanted to make money in the post Super Bowl marketing of the halftime show. She wanted to, quote, own the master, like what she has with her current situation for her music. The NFL said, no, we're not giving that to you. Sorry. And so the negotiations broke down. And now Bad Bunny steps up and says, I'll do it. I'll take it. And I'll go and get that global audience, the international audience that will pay attention. But people who are angry about a foreign act getting the halftime show, you know, Puerto Rico is part of this country, right? Like, can we not expose ourselves and our lack of our educational system that dramatically? Like, he's Puerto Rican. He's an American. Like, what are we doing? Can we stop that, please? So again, I'm not part of the demographic that listens to Bad Bunny. I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know what he says half the time. Okay. He's going to be on SNL if people are pointing it out. Okay. But it doesn't matter because it doesn't really apply to us. Everybody in the chat, all of us, it doesn't matter to us. They already have us. They're not after us. They're after the people that don't watch football that will tune in to watch the halftime show. Would I rather have it be like how it was in Los Angeles? Yes. And see, Eminem and Snoop and Dr. Dre. Would I love that? Absolutely. I would love that. Give me my generation. Give me a band that I grew up listening to, the U2, situation after 9/11, like all of the amazing halftime, Prince's halftime performance, like all these things that we've looked at. Like people have said, Dave Matthews, go get the Dave Matthews Band. People have said, go find artists who translate better to mass, on older people and younger people. People have been around for a long period of time. I've heard people say, go get Oasis and put Oasis at the halftime show, but that would piss off everybody because they're not American. But like, look what Oasis has done. I went to damn Scotland to go watch Oasis. So like people have said that. I understand all of that. I do. I would rather that personally, because that's the music. What's going on right now in music is nostalgic music is coming roaring back. And folks that have been touring, and like I've been talking to people in my friend group about this, about like, okay, so who's the next band that's going to recalibrate and get back together and go back on tour and really captivate the way that Oasis has captivated? Because the money that Oasis is making is insane. They're going to stay on tour in 2026 and go back to Europe. They just played Wembley Stadium over the weekend. They're coming back to Europe to do even more, and they're coming back to the States in 26 to do even more shows. And they're just printing money. So there's going to be other bands like that. I mean, Oasis's first album came out in 1994. They haven't had a new album in 13 years, and they're making billions because of nostalgia music. So I think a lot of folks are hoping for those situations to come back, to find, Bon Jovi would be interesting. A Bon Jovi halftime show like that. People thought that was what the NFL would go ahead and do that there'd be some type of nostalgic act. And they didn't. They went young and they went hip and they went now and they went current. I'm not angry about it. Linkin Park would be tough only because the lead singer, I mean, if you have Chester, if he was still with us 100%, but supposedly I have friends that saw the concert in Boston with the new lead singer and said that she was amazing. Like she's been incredible, but people said that it's not the same, but it's unique. It's still good. It's just not as good as it was. So just relax, everybody. Like social media, Twitter, everyone just calm down. Like it's not that big of a deal as to who's playing the halftime show. Like it's just, we'll all survive. It's not that big of a deal. All right, I am going contrarian here tonight with the two games for Monday Night Football. I'm betting the over for the Jets and the Dolphins. I've seen what happens with Tua at home, and I know Justin Fields is coming off of a concussion, and he's going to start tonight. But Tyrod Taylor played pretty well, competently as well. I don't like the Dolphins' defense, and everyone's saying this is a dead under. This game's going to be really low scoring. I don't agree. I think Mike McDaniel's offense at home is different than on the road. And I think when I watched the Patriot game and I saw them have open receivers all over the place, and they have speed. And when they play with speed, they're tough to deal with. I think the Dolphins, the number is 2.5. I would lean towards the Dolphins winning and covering just because of what we've seen with home teams in the NFL right now. I don't think you can back the Jets here tonight. I don't really want to back Tua, because Tua's been a dumpster fire at the quarterback position, and he's been a dumpster fire in prime time. On top of that, he sucks when the lights are the brightest. Tua's been disaster, an absolute disaster. So, and everyone's like, go under. It was 45.5. I bought it down to 44. It was 44.5. I bought it down. Let me give you an up-to-date number here on this game for tonight. We are currently sitting at, hold on. Wait for my odd screen to load here. Okay, my odd screen doesn't want to load. That's annoying. Let's look at this. We'll just go to FanDuel. They've got it at 44.5 still. I bought it down to 44 because I got screwed yesterday with that Browns and Lions game. So I'm not getting screwed again on a 34-10 final and have it fall 44. So key numbers, 42, 43, 44. Let's buy it down to 44. Over 44, Jets and the Dolphins tonight. In the late game, I'm going to buy it off the hook. It's 7.5. It's still 7.5 for the Broncos. I'm going to buy it to 7. It's at circa was minus 130 last night to do that. But Zach Taylor, 8-23 straight up without Joe Burrow at the quarterback position. I think this comes down to the offensive and defensive lines. I don't think we're going to see much here for the Bengals. I think their offensive line is going to get manhandled by the defensive front for the Broncos. And I think the Broncos are going to manhandle the defensive line for the Bengals. We saw it a lot during the preseason where they couldn't stop the run. I don't think the Bengals can stop the run here tonight. I like J.K. Dobbins big here. I like the running game. I don't think it's high scoring, but I like the Broncos to cover 7 points and win the game here tonight at home on Monday Night Football. The prop bet, you can guess it most likely. I think this is going to be a massive J.K. Dobbins day today. I think J.K. Dobbins over 64.5 yards rushing. I could see him go for 100. I don't mind a ladder on J.K. Dobbins. I think he's going to get the bulk of the work here tonight. I think he runs the ball down the throats of this Bengals team. And then Bo Nix hasn't played great so far. I mean, Bo Nix throwing the football has not looked nearly as confident as last year. Cortland Sutton could have a big game, though, tonight. If you do play action, look for him to be targeted in the red zone a lot here tonight for Sean Payton. But Sean Payton against backup quarterbacks has feasted in his career against backups. And I know the receiving core is tremendous, but this is a backup quarterback against a really good secondary in a really good defense. And I don't think he'll have time to get the football out. It's one thing when Jake Browning plays at home. Different story when Jake Browning's playing on the road at altitude in prime time. Give me Denver to win the game by double digits, most likely. But I want the insurance of a 7-point win, backdoor type situation. I don't want to give up that. 7.5 could burn you on the hook. So that's why I bought off of it. But J.K. Dobbins, I think, has a big game running the football here tonight. J.K. Dobbins over in 64.5 yards rushing for the Broncos. Favorite thing about today. For me, look, it's Monday, and we have 2 NFL football games today. I wish we would do this and get rid of Thursday. I don't think we need Thursday night football. I like Thursday night football. I do. But I love Mondays with 2 games. And this is the second time this year we're getting a Monday night with 2 games. And while the time is a little awkward, last time we did this, it was early and late. Okay. Early and late. These 2 games are going to overlap. So when one goes to when the first game, Dolphins and the Jets go to halftime, we'll flip over and watch the other game. I have YouTube TV. I'll have both games on simultaneously. So I'll get them both. I have the package. So I'll have both games and I'll be watching both games. But this is Thursday needs to go away. And I know Amazon, look, they're trying. They are. I'll give them credit. They're trying to create something that's worth watching. It's hard to watch it at times. I'm not going to lie. I mean, the studio show is okay. I don't understand why we're doing the whole like Shabuzi intro thing. I could leave that behind. I don't need that. But the games aren't that good. The later we go into the games into the season, the worse the games get because it's Thursday. And so 2 games on Monday, I would separate it by more than an hour. Okay. It's 7:15 and 8:15 start time. I would separate them by more time, but I do think this is the best way to do it where we have 2 games on Monday night versus Thursday. And maybe you give Amazon the second game and then the first game's to ESPN. It's better for the game. So I like this. I like to, I'm good with it. That 10 p.m. game, Vinny, let us have our thing on the West Coast. Okay. Let us have a game in a normal time frame. 10 p.m. Eastern time is fine. You guys will survive. Not the end of the world. But this game tonight is 8 o'clock Eastern time, 8:16 Eastern time, Bengals Broncos. That, by the way, is a 6:16 kick time, Mountain time. That's weird. That's weird. Thursday is extra football-ish. I'll give that to you, but the football's bad. Football's not good. Guys get banged up. That's part of the problem. I always like watching football, Eric. Jets and Dolphins. I always like it. I'm always interested in doing that. Personally, there are 3 windows on Sunday, Sonic. Technically, you have 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock. There are 3 windows. So, yeah, I don't think I hate the stream because I do like Al Michaels a lot. And I like Kirk Herbstreit. I like once we get to the game, I like their call. I just don't like everything else around it. Just not there. Yeah. Thank you, Jimmy Football. 3-1 to the under so far on Thursday. The games just aren't that good on Thursday night. That's my problem. Guys, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Tomorrow, Mark Zinno, Sports Grid and ESPN Radio, Yankee fan. Let's go. Red Sox, Yankees, Red Sox, Yankees, Zinno, Yankees, me, Red Sox. Get the boxing gloves on. It's back. Red Sox, Yankees in the postseason. Zinno tomorrow on a Tuesday's Bostonian versus the book.